AI isn't just changing our daily lives, it's also revolutionizing the economy. As AI technology rapidly advances and becomes more affordable, businesses across all industries are using it to automate processes, enhance productivity, and gain a competitive edge. But what does this mean for the future of work and the economy? Join us as we delve into the economic impact of AI and its potential to transform the job market, disrupt industries, and reshape the global economy.
You said this week is the JP Morgan conference. Freeberg mentioned it last week. I had dinner on Wednesday with this really interesting company based in Zurich. And what they have is basically a library of ligands, right? And so these ligands are used as a substrate to deliver all kinds of molecules inside the body. And what's interesting is that they have a portfolio of like 1,000 of these, but really what they have is they have all the nuclear medicine about whether it works. So, they target glioblastoma, and so all of a sudden they can say, well, this ligand can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and get to the brain. They have an entire data set of that and a whole bunch of nuclear imagery around that. They have something for soft cell carcinoma, so then they have that data set. So to your point, that's really valuable because that's real work that Google or Microsoft or OpenAI won't do, right? And if you have that and you bring it to the problem, you can probably make money. There's a business there to be built.
As Chamath Palihapitiya stated, these two factors, silicon advancements and the decrease in cost of energy, are combining to make AI more accessible and cheaper to run. The result is that AI models can be run for a fraction of the cost compared to just a few years ago. This trend is only going to continue as the cost of energy and silicon continues to decrease.
The ability to run this at scale is going to happen because we're getting better and better at creating silicon that specializes in doing things in a massively parallelized way. And the cost of energy at the same time is getting cheaper and cheaper along with it. When you multiply these two things together, the effect of it is that you'll be able to run these models. The same output today will cost 1/10 as long as you ride the energy and compute curve for the next few years. So that's just going to naturally happen.
This cost reduction is leading to significant changes in the industry. Large tech companies are taking advantage of this trend and as a result are investing heavily in AI development. For example, Google, the largest search engine in the world, has been investing in AI technology for many years. However, they are now facing increasing competition from other tech companies who are also investing heavily in AI development.
Let's listen to Chamath explain.
The reality is that, let me just take a prediction. I think that Google will open source their models because the most important thing that Google can do is reinforce the value of search. And the best way to do that is to scorch the earth with these models, which is to make them widely available and as free as possible. That will cause Microsoft to have to catch up, and that will cause Facebook to have to really look in the mirror and decide whether they're going to cap the betting that they've made on AR, VR, and reallocate very aggressively to AI. I mentioned this I did this Lex Fridman podcast, but that should be what Facebook does. And the reason is, if Facebook and Google and Microsoft have roughly the same capability and the same model, there's an element of machine learning that I think is very important, which is called reinforcement learning. And specifically, it's reinforcement learning from human feedback, right? So these RLHF pipelines, these are the things that will make your stuff unique. So if you're a startup, you can build a reinforcement learning pipeline. How? You build a product that captures a bunch of usage. We talked about this before. That data set is unique to you as a company. You can feed that into these models, get back better answers, you can make money from it. Facebook has an enormous amount of reinforcement learning inside of Facebook. Every click, every comment, every like, every share. Twitter has that data set. Google inside of Gmail and search. Microsoft inside of Minecraft and Hotmail. So my point is, David's right. The huge companies, I think, will create the substrates. And I think they'll be forced to scorch the earth and give it away for free. And then on top of that is where you can make money. And I would just encourage entrepreneurs to think, where is my edge in creating a data set that I can use for reinforcement learning? That I think is interesting. That's kind of saying, I buy the ingredients from the supermarket, but then I can still construct a dish that's unique. And, the salt is there, the pepper is there, but how I use that will determine whether you like the thing or not. And I think that, that is the way that I think we need to start thinking about it. The biggest opportunity here is for Facebook. I mean, they need to get in this conversation ASAP. I mean, to think that, look, PyTorch was like a pretty seminal piece of technology that a lot of folks in AI and machine learning were using for a long time. TensorFlow before that. And what's so funny about Google and Facebook is they're a little bit kind of they're not really making that much progress. I mean, Facebook released this kind of rando version of AlphaFold recently. It's not that good. I think these companies really need to get these products in the wild as soon as possible. It cannot be the case that you have to email people and get on some list. I mean, this is Google and Facebook, guys. Come on. By the way, Jason, what you're doing right now is you're creating a human feedback reinforcement learning pipeline for ChatGPT. So just the fact that you asked that question and, over time, if ChatGPT has access to your GPS information and then knows that you went to restaurant A versus B, it can intuit, and it may actually prompt you to ask, hey, Jason, we noticed you were in the area. Did you go to Bottega? If you did, how would you rate it 1 through 5? That reinforcement learning now allows the next person that asks, what are the top 5 restaurants, to say, well, over 1,000 people that have asked this question, here's actually the best answer versus a generic rank of the open web, which is what the first data set is. That's what's so interesting about this. So this is why, if you're a company that already owns the eyeballs, you have to be running to get this stuff out there.
As Palihapitiya points out, AI technology is becoming commoditized as more companies begin to invest in it. This means that Google's dominance in the market is under threat, as other companies such as Microsoft and Meta also start to develop their own AI models.
If you guys were sitting on top of something that you thought was as foundational as Google search back in 1999, would you have sold 49% of it for $10 billion?
Hard no.
I think the answer is no. I think the answer is no.
Not in an environment where you have unlimited ability to raise capital.
This is something that we've said before, which is that ChatGPT is an incredibly important innovation, but it's an element of a platform who will get quickly commoditized because everybody will compete over time. And so I think what Microsoft is doing is the natural thing for somebody on the outside looking in at an entity that has 93% share of a very valuable category, which is, how can I scorch the earth? And so Microsoft effectively, for $10 billion, bought almost 50% of a tool, and now will make that tool as pervasive as possible so that consumer expectations are such that Google is forced to decay the quality of their business model in order to compete. So that, as Friedberg said, you have to invest in all kinds of compute resources that today are still somewhat expensive. And that will flow into the P&L, and what you will see is that the business quality degrades. And this is why when Google did the demo of Bard, the first thing that happened was a stock went off 500 basis points. They lopped off $100 billion of the market cap, mostly in reaction to, oh my God, this is not good for the long-term business.
To maintain their dominant position, Google has to invest heavily in AI development, which is an expensive and time-consuming process. However, if they don't do this, they risk losing their position as the top search engine to competitors such as Microsoft, Meta, and even startups like Quora.
And with last weekend, if you add it all up, what Satya said is true, which is even if all we do collectively as an industry is take 500 or 600 basis points of share away from Google, it doesn't create that much incremental cost for us, but it does create enormous headwinds and pressure for Google with respect to how they're valued and how they will have to get revalued. And that's what happened. So the last thing I'll say is, the question that I've been thinking about is, what does Sundar do? Right? So what's the countermeasure?
Yes, this is what I was going to get to.
I think the countermeasure here, if I was him, is to go to the board and say, guys, we're going to double tack right? So TAC is the traffic acquisition cost that Google pays their publishers. It is effectively their way of guaranteeing an exclusivity on search traffic. So for example, if you guys have an iPhone, it's Google search. That's the default search in the iPhone. Google pays Apple. This year, this renegotiation for that deal could mean that Apple gets paid $25 billion for giving away that right to Google. So if Google does all these kinds of deals. Last year they spent, I think, $45 billion or so.
The impact of AI isn't just limited to tech companies. It's also changing the way traditional industries operate. For example, in finance, AI algorithms are being used to analyze vast amounts of data and make more accurate predictions about the stock market. Now it's clear that AI is revolutionizing the way we work and live, with significant impacts on the economy. As we've seen, AI can improve efficiency, reduce costs, and even create new industries and job opportunities. However, it's important to also consider the potential challenges and ethical concerns that come with the widespread adoption of AI. What are your thoughts on AI? Will it change the world as we know it? How will it affect your bottom line? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more updates on the world of finance and investing. Also, be sure to hit the bell for updates on all our future videos. Bye-bye for now.